All right, welcome back to Geeks Inherited the Earth, where we could not be happier to present our next guest, who was the voice of Raphael from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Pinky and Yakko from Animaniacs. However, once we began to read further about Mr. Paulsen, we realized this multiple award-winning actor was not only a true legend with over 500 acting credits to his name spanning decades, but also a warrior that defeated throat cancer. You can read about this incredible journey from his book Voice Lessons, which he is currently promoting. Let's please welcome Mr. Rob Paulsen.
Hello, knuckleheads on the other side. I got a knucklehead from the Warner Brothers water tower on this side. So thanks very much for that incredibly auspicious introduction. I think I should retire. I sound like a movie star. Thank you.
Oh, it's the least I could do. You have an incredible story, multiple stories. It just the book was so entertaining. And like I said, I knew obviously Raph and Donnie, which were both incredible roles, Pinky and Yakko. But it's when I started reading everything else, I was just taken aback. I mean, you were present for the entirety of my generation's childhood and multiple others.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for your kind words regarding my book. That was a real utter labor of love, and it turns out that it's been helpful to other people who are dealing with their own difficult struggles. My particular one was throat cancer. But it turns out that the best part of being me at the moment is what you are giving me the opportunity to do, which is to speak about the fact that everybody takes a couple of knocks while we're here. You don't get out of here with a couple of dings. Right. And people help me to deal with my own difficulties, and so I am so grateful to be able to hopefully return the favor. And it is kind people like you who allow me to do that. But with respect to my career, dude, you're talking to a lottery winner. And the important thing, I think, is for fans or folks out there to know is that people in my realm and the voice acting gig and who do cartoon voices, we get how lucky we are because it's the characters who are the celebrities, and we know that.
That's awesome.
I don't draw them. I don't write them. Certainly, people connect pretty well with the voices, and more than likely you're smiling at this particular moment, unless it's gas, which is possible too. But, that's the best part of the gig. It's like a superpower, man. I can be in front of 50 people or 5,000 people. And if I say, nerve, then they do that. And it is just glorious. So it is not lost on me how lucky I am. I never once take it for granted. And as I said earlier, the chance to talk about all of it collectively is a huge gift to me. So thank you for taking the time to talk to me about it.
Oh, absolutely. From my perspective, having read the book and understood your journey, it is inspirational that you're taking such a setback like that and transitioning it into trying to help others, inspiring others. Your attitude towards your battle was incredibly humbling, and it's really impressive to see you taking this out into the world and trying to help others with it, on top of what you've already given everyone with all the happiness and joy with all your roles you've played.
Well, you said two words that are absolutely integral to my life: happiness and joy. Look, man, I get paid essentially to do what used to get me in trouble in high school. And it turns out that the joy that I sort of cultivated in my own life just from doing what made my soul happy, it was never about the money. Don't get me wrong. I've been rich and I've been poor. Rich is way better. Sports cars don't pay for themselves. But the way for me to make any money is to spread that happiness and joy through the guise of these remarkable characters that, as I said, I don't draw and I don't write, but man, I happen to be around some really wonderful people who do. And isn't it interesting how deeply people connect with these characters? And it's not false modesty. I'm good at my job, but before the advent of social media, and as I said, nice folks like you take the time, the book, all that, now I have, Rob has developed a certain amount of celebrity, if for no other reason, just by being around here a while. But the upshot of all of it is happiness and joy. And I cannot imagine a better way to get through my life. It's wonderful. It turns out that the cancer experience, though I certainly wouldn't want to do it again, turned out to be a bit of a gift for me, because I've had many people who are inspirational and helpful to me, and like everyone else who's listening. It could be a celebrity, it could be a family member, it could be a clergyman, it could, who knows, it could be a parole officer.
It's definitely something that I personally dealt with in my life with some people that I've loved dearly. So, that really resonated with me as well, certainly.
Well, I'm so glad. And I really mean that. It's not lip service. That gives me an absolute boost to my countenance, because it makes me feel like my work, and in quotes, because I play, but that the work has value that goes way beyond a paycheck or an action figure. And so, man, I love that, because it means that the joy that these characters have cultivated in millions and millions of people around the world, and paid for my kids' braces and dog food and normal stuff like that, by the time it all shakes down, the best part of all of it are happiness and joy. And however that applies to people, whether it's just not less important, but just as simple as, oh my God, I just love Pinky and the Brain. I just love Jimmy Neutron, whatever. Right. Or, holy smoke, I read this guy's book, and yeah, I like the cartoon characters, but man, this guy had throat cancer. And he's okay. He's doing his gig. He's talking about it. He's willing to talk about it. And you know what? I think I can handle my fill in the blank. That is a big, big, big deal to me. And it's ultimately what I think all of us are put here to do. I mean, if you can't help folks out while you're, on the same rock as everybody else for a while, then what the hell's the point? We all, it's not always about money. It's not always about writing a book. It's about finding ways to help each other get through, our shit. Right. And we all have it. So, man, you're hitting on all cylinders talking to me about that stuff, pal.
Well, it's really incredible. It comes across very clearly in the book as well. I've got JC here. He's one of our hosts as Geeks and Hair to the Earth as well. He had a similar experience reading this.
I got stuck in traffic. Sorry about that.
No problem, buddy. I live in L.A., so you're preaching to the choir.
Oh, you understand. I stayed up late last night going through your book, and I thought we just had like an excerpt or something. I didn't know I had the book, and I could not put it down. Your writing is equally as entertaining as the characters.
Absolutely.
The first chapter alone was amazing.
Thank you, JC. That honestly, as I said earlier, I don't even know how to quantify that compliment. That's so kind. But I got to tell you, man, the heavy lifting was done by my co-writer Mike Fleeman, and one of the things I learned about through writing the book was, and it sounds silly, and you probably have writers who are listening, but I really learned what it's like to take what could be a mundane story, actor, blah blah blah, but the way Mike wrote it, all my words, all of it is authentic, all of it is real, heartfelt, all of that. But Mike constructed the book so it was, as you said, eminently readable. And the thing I hear over and over again, including from Mark Hamill, who gave me a lovely endorsement in the book among many of other my friends, is Mark called me when he got, a pre-publication draft. He said, Robbie, I can't put this down. And it was absolutely as a result of Mike Fleeman. Mike knows how to write a book. And there were times when I was telling him my story and I thought, oh my God, I don't want to just be rambling. He said, no, trust me. I know what to do. And he was right. and so thank you. You are a total reflection on what my buddy Mike did to help me. And it was not supposed to be the Brothers Karamazov. It was not supposed to be this glorious tome of an incredible struggle. It was like, okay, here's this guy, makes silly noises for a living, hit him right where he lived. But there's an interesting story that we can tell. And you know what? There's a context that everybody can relate to. That's what it was about. Not, and then I did, and then I did, and then I did, and you know me from, and then I won. Who cares?
It doesn't read like that at all. It reads very earnest, in fact.
Thank you.
The first chapter, setting up everything, was just, that's a brilliant way to do it.
Thank you.
I particularly, I thought
earnest is a very good word. It's a complimentary word. And it is utterly what we intended. So thank you very much.
I thought the foreword by your son was particularly poignant. I thought it really cast I think it accomplished what it was supposed to accomplish, putting a different perspective on that from his view, and it was a really great way to lead into it for sure.
Yeah, it jaw dropped me because I wasn't exactly sure what I was picking up here. I knew what the context was going to be. but the foreword sets the tone perfectly. I mean, it shows you the glowing endorsements and the foreword alone show you're a very loved guy. I mean, it's talent will get you so far, but you got to have something to back it up for a good person. And man, you apparently are very loved. You had a good team with you for this struggle for sure.
Absolutely.
Amen, guys. I've been fooling them for 40 years in LA, but no, I am very loved, and I hope that I return that to both friends and fans alike in the same way, because you're talking to a lottery winner, and as I said at the beginning of our chat, I know it. And often people say, "Boy, you really know who your friends are when things really start to go down the toilet." And I was told at the beginning of my cancer treatment, "Look, you're going to die someday, but not from this. However, before we cure you, we almost have to kill you. The treatment is brutal for obvious reasons, chemo, radiation on your neck, throat, mouth. It's tough. But I not only had my wife, my son, all of that, the usual suspects who help us all, hopefully, through our difficulties. But man, when you can call Mark and Seth Green and Sean Astin, whose birthday it is today, happened to be, and Maurice LaMarche and Kat Graham and Billy West and Chris Hardwick, all these, Nancy Cartwright, and there were more who would have happily endorsed it, simply because we've all worked together forever and we all love each other and we all have been there for marriages, divorces, deaths, all of that stuff. And so the best part of all of those lovely endorsements is that they were utterly authentic. And the people who endorsed me and the book know that I and the others would reciprocate immediately, because these folks are not only the nicest people in the world, the most gifted actors who collectively have entertained maybe half the planet, really.
Multiple generations.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
I've loved Animaniacs, and now I've got a 10-year-old daughter who loves Animaniacs.
Wow, you clearly have excellent taste. Since you read the book, she gets a free pass to the water tower for the rest of her life.
There it is.
Amazing. There was one thing that really struck me, because I don't want to, give any of the details away here, but I didn't put the one-to-one together of, okay, this guy's a voice, his voice is his life. And I was reading through it, and at first I'm just trapped because I didn't know there was an Animaniacs live show, and now I'm mad at myself for never knowing this and not going to it.
And bless your heart.
And I'm reading through this, and then it dawns on me. I'm like, wait, that's in his throat. That's got to be terrifying. And the moment that it dawns on me, it's literally in the next paragraph of you getting your vocal cords checked out, and I'm like, that had to be the biggest sigh of relief at first there, just to know that it's not in the vocal cords. But
yeah, it was. Well, certainly. Look, you already said that you have, or one of you guys, I'm sorry, said about you have loved ones who you may have lost or dealt with cancer. Cancer, sadly, in all its disgusting forms, is ubiquitous, and we know that. So that was the first issue with respect to my, diagnosis. It wasn't like, oh my God, cancer. Well, geez, Rob, you've been on this planet for 60 years. People have died from cancer. Everybody's been touched by cancer, so that's not unusual. Why not you? The fact that it was in my throat was, it definitely got my attention. But as the book goes on, you understand that, or rather the reader understands, and clearly you did, that the characters are this common thread that bring, as you said, happiness and joy to millions of people. And often they did it to young folks and parents of young folks who were not going to make it out of the hospital unless it was in a body bag. And I would get a phone call to talk to a young man or a young lady as Raphael or Pinky or Donatello or Carl or the Mask or the Tick, whatever, Yakko. And the parents would, through their tears, would send me video, or sometimes I'd be there in person. And, their little girl or boy would be flipping out because they're talking to Pinky. And the parents knew that their sweet baby wasn't going to make it out of the hospital. They knew it.
Yes.
And I don't even know how people make it through something like that. Okay, so then I go through my issue many years later when I'm already have had a wonderful life. And even if they had said, look, you better, we're going to keep you comfortable, but you're on your way out. Man, I had nothing about which to be sad. I had a wonderful life. stuff happens. But then these people who lost their sweet babies decades earlier find out and they say, oh my God, Mr. Paulsen, and, we heard about your struggle. You will never know what it meant to, Mark or Stephanie that Yakko called. You will never know what it meant to my little boy that Raphael spoke to him. And that courage that I had the privilege of witnessing for decades in my life, after having a healthy boy, after having a lovely life, winning awards, making a nice living, it turns out that the happiness and joy, you guys hit it, were what got many of those people and their survivors through the worst possible thing that happens in anyone's life. And then they were coming back to tell me how much they appreciated what I did.
It's incredible.
And it really solidified the power of these characters, man. It is a big deal to millions of people.
It really is.
And I did not know that until I had this experience. So it's turned out to be a gift for me, man. I go around the world now, and inevitably, like you're mentioning Animaniacs in concert, we're doing it in Ohio last week, where I'm on the road tomorrow morning going to Boston to do it.
Wow.
This next weekend. And every concert, every personal appearance, every book signing, I will meet more than several people who tell me the most intimate details about how one of the characters that I happen to voice got them through an impossible circumstance. And I swear to God, I never knew that. So it's a wonderful way to sort of look at this almost new career I've got and this new drive and mission to try to contextualize struggle and the importance of joy, happiness, and courage, and the ways that courage can be kind of cultivated by that happiness and joy. It's getting existential, but you see my point.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
incredible.
Well, if you look at your resume alone, which reads like a Bible in and of itself,
it's ridiculous.
Like you'd have to dig a pretty deep hole to find someone you've not had a character that's part of their childhood.
Oh,
in some
definitely,
way.
definitely.
But like it's crazy to me that, like, when I was a kid, me and my mom watched Animaniacs, and she's a cancer survivor as well. So I'm buying her a copy of your book, for sure. And she's in love with entertainment the same way anybody else is. You don't really think an application about, oh wow, Pinky's a person. And now, now when you look at it like from this angle, like, it was so weird because what started as, okay, I got to research for this interview.
Sure.
And then I start going through, I'm like, he was even in Metal Gear Solid? He did that voice?
Yes,
I know.
yes.
Wow.
And Final Fantasy, God of War, Star Wars, so many other video games.
I had a friend of mine that was, she's a traveling comedian, and she texted me, hey, what are you doing? I was like, I'm researching, I'm talking to Rob Paulsen tomorrow. She got off the interstate and came over and was like, wow, do you have any of like the materials? Have you read the books? Like, I'm reading the book. She's like, do you have a copy? I'm like, no, go buy the book. And like, she's given me stories of, she's like met you at cons and everything. She's like, he's the nicest guy. I'm like, well, gosh, I hope so, because this resume is intimidating, and this book's amazing.
It sure would be a drag if I were an asshole after all this.
The impact that you have on people, it dawned on me right there, because she was immediately like, I've listened to his show, or and I've heard some of the podcast. Yeah, she's like, I've listened to some of the struggles with it. I didn't know there's a complete tome about it, and immediately 10,000 questions start flying out. I'm like, well, read the book. You're asking questions that are in it. Your fan base is just phenomenal, and for good reason.
Thank you. And they are phenomenal, not only in their number, which I hope is as prodigious as the next actor, but what is phenomenal is the what your sweet friend who said the nice things about me, the comedian. That is what's phenomenal. The kindness of folks like yourselves. Other people who are fans, they just don't know me, but they find out who I am and they go, oh my God. And I have people who get tearful because of the joy that these characters bring to them. It will often connote a difficult struggle, as we've already talked about, and they get in a wistful, tearful, response that is the most profound compliment to me that anyone could do. And all my fans, quote unquote, are so kind and so sweet, and they go out of their way to put themselves in a position so we can chat. You know, I the only downside about a circumstance in which I go to write a book or do a personal appearance is I don't want to blow anybody off. It's not about, okay, let's get so many people through. I want to hear these stories because they are never not profoundly impactful. I mean, it's nuts, man. But in the most beautiful way, because the upshot is, again, your words, happiness and joy. There's no downside, none, zero. It is utterly a joyful exchange.
It's so amazing to hear that the fan base means as much to you as you do to them.
My God.
This is a very vicarious relationship. That's rare and wonderful.
Anytime you, and by the way, all of you out there, anytime you encounter an actor at an event like, you know, a Comic-Con, they're so ubiquitous now, and God bless them, they're wonderful. But they're springing up like zits on a 12-year-old, man. You can find them everywhere. And I love that. But remember, and everybody has a bad day, and I get that. But all of these conventions, we're invited to come. No one forces anyone, even at the beginning. I would submit you're not going to interview many actors whose parents forced them at gunpoint to be in the entertainment business. Right? This is a choice. And if you're lucky enough, as I am, to have had a long, 4-decade career, and now I find myself talking to two nice guys about all this work that they've done and kick out of, for which I was really well paid. And then I go to an event and I'm not a nice person. Shame on me. So I get that it's different if you're Brad Pitt or, that's a different animal. You can't go anywhere. However, when you're in a circumstance where you're being paid or asked to show up and then you're difficult or then you blow people off, bullshit. There is no place for that. You can have a bad day. Everybody does. But if it's a continual thing, then to the actor, then don't show up. Don't go. It's not for everybody. I get that there are people who say, I just don't want to go. Then don't go. But if you go, then it is incumbent upon you to be as decent as possible, because the only reason you're asked to go to an event is because you got people who paid attention.
That's the genuine article right there, man.
Yep.
That's an applause moment right there.
That's it. Period. End of story. You're only famous and you only have people lining up for you because they paid attention. So that they are your meal ticket. How could you not be decent to people? So I am so lucky that I have a fan base of more than my family. And if it turns out that that's the case, then my God, I wish that I had the chance to shake everybody's hand, because it turns out it was something that was deeply impactful for both sides of the equation.
What amazes me is, like, okay, say, let's use your standard musician, for example. They've got one or two songs they're known for, and after a certain point in their career, please never talk to me about that song, right? Mm-hmm. And you kind of want to hear the song, but you never want to bring it up. And then we've got you, who's the total opposite here, who's, you're still doing the voices for everybody, and you love it as much as they do. This is a very nice change of pace, man.
Yeah, I think that the problem is, I think you're speaking about United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama.
Yeah.
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Vaguely, yes.
Great. Yeah, and look, the problem is, that's our stairway to heaven, man. And I can't. The problem is when people stop asking. I get, like I said, it's the characters who are famous. The reason people want to come out is because they want to relive that joy. They want to share it with their children, their grandchildren even. When we do these Animaniacs and concert gigs, we got people 10 or 15 years older than me and then 8 or 9 years old, and everybody in between, because good stuff is good stuff. And the music on Animaniacs was integral to the success of that show.
Oh, yeah.
So when we know that everybody wants to hear that song, when I do public speaking, if I do a TED Talk, often what I do is I walk in and I'll start the show, and I've got a 45-minute speech or whatever, and I'll say, all right, let's get this out of the way. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama. And then I get done, and I say, there you go. You guys can go home now. I won't be offended. You say, he did that goddamn song, and I was so happy. Frankly, I didn't care about what he had to say, anything after that. So you can go home now and it won't hurt my feelings. And I get it. I'm a fan too, man.
That's so cool.
And it is a brilliant song.
It really
I'm the
is.
guy that got to sing it. I'm the guy that made that it's a brilliant 2.5-minute cartoon. It's a seminal piece of American culture. And that is not hyperbole. It is an amazing little cartoon. And I got to be part of it. Oh my God. It's a celebration every time I do it. So no, man, you're never going to hear me going, oh, please ask me about my new stuff. No. I'm doing new stuff all the time, but whatever it is that brings people into the fold, that's what we're here for.
I noticed that huge inspirations for you was Peter Sellers and Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that. That makes a lot of sense. Seeing a lot of your energy and your roles definitely ties in for that. Also, we noticed that you grew up as a young one, maybe playing a little music like JC and myself. What's a couple of your favorite bands?
Oh man, well, Steely Dan, Led Zeppelin. I think today, I'm an acolyte in the Church of Donald Fagen because I don't know that there's an American composer alive who has done more brilliant songwriting, arranging for now getting close to 50 years.
Well,
way, way, way beyond Steely Dan. And, but the usual suspects, the Beatles, Zeppelin, The Who, a lot of British stuff, but also, I love Alice Cooper. I'm a Detroit guy and I've gotten to know Allison, but he's a great guy. But moreover, he was one of my huge rock and roll inspirations. I love the fact that all my rock and roll heroes are now getting, in 70s and 80s and they play still out of their minds. Eric Clapton, David Gilmour, Jeff Beck. They sound like they're 25,
right?
And they're 15 years older than me. And I love that.
There was one thing that I noticed that that wasn't hit on much in the book, which for most people would be their entire book, I think. So you got to open for Bob Seger?
Yeah, well, the band I was in when I was in high school, I think it was just after I was a senior in high school, but we won a battle of the bands. And the first prize was to open for a concert for Bob Seger in Michigan. It was about 6,000-7,000 people, I guess. But boy, what a thrill, because Bob Seger was, he was starting to really make it, but this was just before Night Moves came out.
Oh, so
and just before he became Bob freaking Seger. And again, he's 75 years old now? And I don't know him, but the way in which he handled himself and being who he is, even 40 years ago, was nothing short of inspirational. And through the years, I've had these teachers, even for a short moment, people like Bob Seger, Gordie Howe. I'm a hockey player. Steven Spielberg, people who could behave any way they want, and they choose to be utterly kind, utterly deferential, zero ego. And so that is the way you move through your life, man.
That's amazing.
They know how
really
lucky they are.
That would be most people's entire book. So that's the fact that it's just like a half a page. I'm like, this guy's life is amazing.
Oh, so that was great. So not only have you been in voice acting, directing, you're doing now live performances with this Animaniacs tour in concert. It's symphony halls and theaters. How different is that from doing voice acting?
Well, it really isn't any different. Well, I take that back. That's not true. It is different from my traditional gig in that, for the obvious reasons, you got a nice audience in front of you, and that is how most of us, myself included, who do this job got started. And man, I love it. I honestly, as much as I love going to work and being around my fellow actors who essentially become our own audiences, because we're fans of each other, and we try to one up each other, and it's just this marvelous experience just to be in the studio with all these other world-class talents. However, when you get to do it in front of an audience of people who choose to spend their money and drive and park, and often in inclement weather, to come and see something you've created as a labor of love, that's a huge validation that you've done something that people are willing to do all those things to take part in. Hugely humbling, very kind, and and the best part of it is that all it does is gin you up to want to do the most killer show you can. And obviously, we'd like it if every show sells out. That's not the case, but that's frankly not the case with a lot of acts these days. It's tough out there because people have all these wonderful ways to have pretty cool entertainment at home. However, I think Randy and I have something fairly unique because a lot of people have seen Bugs on Broadway, and they have the music of Carl Stalling and wonderful voice characterizations by Mel and all this on a big screen with a huge orchestra. But it's clear, it's obviously not Carl Stalling and Mel Blanc. And that is not to compare Randy and me to those pantheons of Hollywood. But the cool thing about our show is that we're the only ones who can do it like this. To have the original writer, original performers put on the show, on a show that has become iconic. It's, being rebooted. Any way you slice it, anytime you get to work with Steven, that gives it more credibility. So the whole experience is just really great. And man, when it comes to showtime, if there are 50 people or 5,000, it's we can't wait to swing from the monkey bars to impress them. It's great fun.
Excellent. And you brought up a great point that with so many things easily for people to reach at their homes, to have people get motivated and drive out to see a show like that is definitely exciting for sure. Shows their value for it.
Well, yeah, it is. And it's also, look, it's not the Stones. It's not Taylor Swift. It's not Luke Bryan. It's a couple of knuckleheads who make cartoon voices, but it speaks to the power of primarily of joy, which is a powerful force, as we all know, but it speaks to Randy's genius, and that word gets bandied about in Hollywood way too much. And in this case, it is absolutely appropriate. Randy is nothing short of that. In fact, and by the way, what we do during the show is we tell stories about how the songs got made.
Oh, wow.
We do a series of songs that didn't make it, and their minds are blown. You go, what the hell's wrong with that? And all little nuances about the making of Animaniacs. And of course, other characters that bang around in my melon show up, and people get a kick out of Carl and Yakko and Pinky and Turtles and Mighty Max and Arthur from The Tick and you name it. But and then when Maurice LaMarche joins, just all his characters from Futurama show up. It's just wonderful. But the really cool thing about it is that people are choosing to do this with known characters but unknown performers, and again they know who we are once they find out, but they're driven to come to see it, regardless of the fact that we still don't have any new episodes out from the last 25 years.
That's incredible.
And that doesn't matter to people one iota. It's about what Randy has already created, and that speaks really highly to his pedigree. And man, it really is a gas. You don't even have to like Animaniacs. We've had many occasions in which we're part of an orchestra. What am I trying to say? The subscription, where you'll be in there with Renee Fleming or Yo-Yo Ma, and this week it's for the family and it's Animaniacs, and people come because that's what they do. They come to the symphony every Thursday or whatever. And it's our show. And we have people waiting around after going, I got to tell you, I had no idea what I was seeing, but I already paid for it. I love it. And it happens over and over again.
Oh, wow.
Simply because of Randy's music. It is nothing short of astonishing, and it holds up beautifully. In fact, Tom Ruger, the creator of Animaniacs, just sent something on Facebook that says, Yakko's World, that little cartoon has got 35.5 million views.
Whoa.
Isn't that something?
It really
I got to find some way to get $1 per view out of those people. But nonetheless, anyway, yeah, it's pretty great, man. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely. And speaking of Animaniacs, I think the cat is out of the bag. Word on the street is Animaniacs will be making a glorious return to television as well.
Yeah, boy, glorious from your lips to God's checkbook. We certainly hope so. Anytime you are lucky enough to work on something that has become Animaniacs, that for many actors would comprise a marvelous career. To have that one apple on a nice full tree, but one that is a big, bright, shiny, healthy, juicy apple. Man, I've had a half a dozen of them, so I am incredibly fortunate. However, the opportunity to get to do Animaniacs again with Tress, with Jess, with Maurice, with Randy, and with Steven Spielberg. I mean, that's just something that does not happen. The
legendary.
cool thing also, and the really great challenge, is that fans of Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain, pardon me, will be able to watch their favorite episode of the original show, and then as soon as that's over, immediately click over to a brand new one. And it'll be on Hulu this fall. That is also unprecedented. And it adds a certain level of pressure, and I use that with a small p because it's kind of a fun challenge, because the bar is really high. And we know that there will be people who say, I like the other one better. Or there may be people who say, wow, I really like the new one, but who knows? That is not up to us. Our job is to do the best show we can. And if Mr. Spielberg is overseeing it, I wouldn't bet against him, ever.
Nice.
But it's a really remarkable experience for a guy like me at my age, because when I moved to LA, we didn't even have Betamaxes or VHS. We had no DVDs. We had no laser discs. We had no none of the platforms which we consume entertainment, no direct TV, no satellite TV. All of this has happened since I began my career. And now I'm much closer to the end than the beginning. But are you kidding me? To do this again at this level? And the fan base now is exponentially larger than it was when the show hit the air.
That is true.
So it's pretty remarkable. I would venture that you guys and I could go to dinner pretty much anywhere, maybe even in Europe. And if people found out who I was, they'd say, are you kidding me? I love Animaniacs or Pinky and the Brain. It happens every day. It's fantastic.
Yeah, anybody I've talked to this interview about, they instantly light up. You can just see it in their eyes. It's exciting for people. It's just something I'm definitely looking forward to as well. Can't wait for the fall to check that out.
Yeah.
Not only have you been voice acting, live performance, directing, returning to the Turtles again, but you've got a little podcast of your own, Talking Tunes.
Yes.
I was checking that out last night. What an amazing list of guests you've already had on that. Alan
Isn't that
Oppenheimer,
cool?
Phil
And you know
Lamar.
what else, you guys? They're my buddies. I mean, they're people I've been to their homes. They've been to mine. It's. I find myself, I wear long sleeves a lot because I'm black and blue from pinching myself. You know, I all the people that I hang with, apart from my wonderful family, my extended family, are the most gifted, talented, unpretentious actors in the world. They're, I should say, among. They really are. I got to stop dropping names. Bob De Niro told me this, but
Yes.
nonetheless, yesterday I was talking to Mark Hamill. Mark is, for most of us, he's the savior of the galaxy, but he's also the freaking Joker.
Right.
To millions of fans. Kevin and Mark both wrote beautiful endorsements for my book. They didn't have to. They did it because they care about me, and they would do it for Maurice or Tress or Pam Adlon or any of those people, and they're all my buddies. So you're right. When I decided to do the podcast, firstly, I realized that you didn't have to be an MIT grad to do it, which would immediately have excluded me. And so I thought, well, I've got a pretty good roster of people that I could call, and every frickin' one of them said yes. Every one of them. Billy West, John DiMaggio, Tress MacNeille, Todd Haberkorn, Nolan North, Troy Baker, Tress, Jess, Mo, Mark, Kevin, Alan Burnett, who produced Batman, Tom Ruger, all of them said yes. Clancy Brown, Tom Wilson, it doesn't matter. Carlos Alazraqui, you go down the list, Kevin Michael Richardson, it just doesn't matter. They all said yes. And some of them have done it more than once. Dave Coulier, Chris Hardwick. Then they get their own shows and they reciprocate, and then I go on. And they're just the nicest people. They would do exactly what I'm doing with you, and would be very grateful for the opportunity. None of them are about themselves. None of them have giant egos. None of them are divas. They're Tara Strong. They're just the greatest people. And then it turns out that they entertain billions, and that's not hyperbole, billions of people. It's fantastic.
It really is, and I noticed that camaraderie really comes across in that show too. It just seems like
good.
so much fun coming through. It's really really nice to see. I know
Well,
that
it's authentic too, because we know how lucky we are. My God, we're a bunch of adults, quote unquote, who make our living doing what used to get us in trouble in 7th grade, and often they pay us very well for it. So you're hanging out with a bunch of people via my podcast, via Talking Tunes, which also is going to be coming back probably later this year. But you're also hanging out with, with people who are essentially like you. That is like the audience. They are the audience. We just took it to a little bit of a different level, but we all love the same things everybody else loves. And we spend most of the hour, and I'm sure that there are fans out there to whom it kind of gets a bit redundant, and I don't blame them, because the formula is pretty simple. It's me welcoming the person. We both talk about how lucky we are. We read a script in the character voices. We have a blast. We laugh our guts out, and that's it. And it could become quite boring, but it becomes boring because we're all just so grateful. And to me, if you're going to err on the side of being boring, I'd rather be on the side of being grateful than being hackneyed and kind of have a laissez-faire, take it for granted. None of us do. None of us.
That is fantastic. It's really wonderful to see and just experience it from this perspective, certainly.
Thank you.
I know that you have an important cause, the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance. They're going to be launching their 22nd Annual Cancer Awareness Week, April 13th to 19th.
Yes.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about and promote for us today?
I would. That was very kind of you to bring it up. As we've already discussed, I had stage 3 throat cancer a few years ago. I'm cured, as far as I'm concerned. I've been told I am, and that's my story. I'm going to stick with it. But in doing so, it was quite a remarkable experience for myself, but also in many ways more difficult for my wife and my son. But the kind folks at the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance got a hold of me a few months ago and asked me if I would be interested, and I could not say yes fast enough. The best part of the whole cancer experience, apart from surviving, is being in a position to make a difference. Everyone does in their own way, whether it's giving somebody $5 who needs it, writing a bigger check, helping somebody move, helping somebody after a tornado, all of those things. So I'm no different. We all want to help. We really are all in this together. I have sadly a typical story with respect to cancer, because we all know people who have dealt with it or have died from it, people we love. My story is a little more unique in that the cancer I contracted hit me right in my breadbasket. But the upshot is that there was never any, oh my God, poor me, none of that. It was like, let's get through this, because when you do, you're not sure how, but when you get through this, you're going to have a great, you mentioned the word glorious opportunity to help people, if only because of what you did for a living. And so we don't know now when somebody might be listening to this podcast or might, go get checked April 13th to the 19th. Their doctors or dental office for head and neck cancer, throat, mouth cancer. And it'll save their life. And if they say, wow, this guy was the voice of my childhood, and I mean, I've listened to everything. He had throat cancer. You know what? He's back to working with the best of the best. I think I can handle fill in the blank. And I know stuff like that, and hearing stories of others who'd gone through pretty difficult circumstances but had made it out the other side to tell the tale inspired me. And so thanks to nice folks like you, I have opportunities such as this to promote Head and Neck Cancer Awareness Week, April 13th through 19th. But you can still go to hnca.org, headandneckcanceralliance.org, and check out all that information about diagnosing the same types of cancers and others that I had that will affect your throat, your mouth, your tonsils, your vocal cords, nose, tongue. And there are sadly other folks who have had, Roger Ebert, one of the premier movie critics of all time, sadly lost his battle with it. Jim Kelly, the 4-time Super Bowl quarterback, Hall of Famer for the Buffalo Bills. He's still fighting it. He was also a spokesman for the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance. Michael Douglas, Michael Cooper used to play for the Lakers. All these folks have been spokespeople for the same thing that I'm doing, and they all have wonderful tales to tell about how they dealt with it and the strength of their families and their constitution. Man, it's worth checking out, because the other side of the coin is that it's one of the most treatable cancers if it's caught early, and please do, because if it's not caught early and it starts to get to the point where they got to start hacking off pieces of your face, it's just a mess. And sadly, that's kind of what happened to our dear friend Roger Ebert. He got to the point where it was pretty messy, and that's not, nobody wants to go, but if you can stave that off with the technology that's there now that has allowed me to, I wouldn't call myself handsome, but I don't look any worse than I did beforehand. I'll take this versus having them have to really get aggressive with their knives, you know. And so you don't have to do that with this type of cancer if you get it early. So go check it out.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing to see you continue to give back after all what you've already given to everyone. Everyone out there listening, I want you to please check out Voice Lessons. It's available on every platform available. It's currently at 5 stars on Amazon, Audible, Google Play, Apple Books, all of them. You can even get it at Target, so you literally have no excuse.
I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I'll go to Target right now and start asking for me. You know, that's what I'll do. I'll go to Target and get 3 or 4 copies and hold it up next to my face so that people walk by and say, boy, I heard this book is really good. I wonder who wrote it.
Well, Mr. Paulsen, this has been an absolute pleasure. I think I can speak for all of us here when I say not only have you enriched ours and countless others' childhoods, but after taking time to talk to you and read your book, Voice Lessons, you have certainly enriched our adult lives as well.
Well, that is a profound compliment, my friend. I am incredibly humbled. I really, truly am. I have had nice people say similar things before, but it is never taken for granted, and it is always accepted in a very, very grateful spirit. So thank you very much. And all of you out there, please remember that laughter is the best medicine. And the cool thing is you can't OD, and the refills are free. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So take care of you guys, and we're all sending lots of thoughts and prayers and money to you folks out there who've gotten the living daylights beaten out of you by Mother Nature. So you know, this coronavirus issue notwithstanding, we're all paying attention as well. We know that there's a lot of tough stuff going on there in Tennessee. So don't feel neglected, even though the news would suggest otherwise. We love you.
Oh, likewise, sir. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
You too.